First saved message.
George, what's up? We're going to record a podcast tonight about a movie called Embers. Science fiction, or so Netflix would have us think. You know what? I don't know what to say. I know all our listeners are looking forward to my quirky messages at the beginning, but there are other places that we could have gone last night instead of that movie. But now we got to talk about it. We have no other choice. So next time, maybe I'll watch a movie that's 139 minutes long instead of 126 minutes long. I still stayed up and read great science fiction afterwards, and I'm none the wiser for Embers. Love ya.
End of message.
Busy daddies do sci-fi. Busy daddies do sci-fi. Busy daddies do sci-fi. Busy daddies do sci-fi.
And yeah, what?
What? Just wave a finger at me? And
I
it's
went like
supposed to-
that. Like that's like go.
Go.
It's like 3.
Well, then, good
2,
morning.
1. Good afternoon. Good
Evening.
evening. Good
Yes,
evening.
good evening.
Right. I'm George.
Woo! I'm Kevin. We're rusty.
We're super rusty. We're bunkered.
Bunkered.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
are.
just pretty quick there, buddy.
You like
Thought
that?
You know, it's funny, listener.
Bunkering down.
We had a plan.
No, we didn't.
We did.
We have a
Well, I
piece
just said I had some stuff.
We have a piece of paper.
You know what that stuff is?
Tell me.
George, you ever had a toothache?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Uh-huh.
So if about a week ago my teeth got really sensitive to hot and cold, and then about yesterday really sensitive, and now one tooth really, really hurts, what does that mean when I go to the dentist tomorrow?
Oh, that means Embers?
No!
No.
This is
okay.
not a rhetorical
Oh,
question.
It wasn't a segue.
This is real content.
Okay, this is real stuff here. So
Have
you're one
I'm
tooth.
going. Luckily, they
one
have a
tooth
spot.
is super sensitive
Crazy.
to hot and cold, or just cold.
Yeah. Both. Well, both, but yeah, both.
It means you got an exposed nerve.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Can I have multiple exposed nerves in
yes.
the mouth at one time?
Yeah, you can.
Why did they all appear last week?
what have you not been doing in your practice? This is riveting right now. I know.
My
But,
practice of what?
Your dental practice. What have you been?
I haven't flossed as frequently in the last month. But I brush.
Probably have a cavity. That's probably all it is.
And an exposed nerve. I think it's cavity too.
I think you have a cavity.
What if I
Probably.
couldn't remember that I had a cavity, George?
Well, now see, that's an interesting question. So, would you get distracted by something and then you would forget that you had a cavity, or is it like a going to sleep?
Ooh, what's that warmness in my pants? I just shit myself. Whoop, can't remember it.
Can't remember it now.
Somehow, you know, we're hot, but they didn't
didn't
really
introduce-
address that kind of stuff, did they?
Well, no, we did not. We neglected to
Who
introduce
are we
ourselves. We are BDDSF. We are the bunker denizens debating security or freedom.
Bunker denizens debating. If I was in a bunker, I might have built in some sort of medical, maybe oral hygiene package
Something that would.
to this.
I would
Instead of
make it a
finding
little
some
bit more.
pliers
I would make
in
it a little
Chernobyl.
more. A little more entertaining, so that maybe my daughter wouldn't want to leave,
Well, you could pull her teeth out.
and she wouldn't be able to talk, which would
Yeah.
be great.
Back
That
to
would
cello.
that would have saved a whole lot of time in this movie.
So we have a movie that we've already alluded to.
Do we?
Do we? Ooh, do we? Where'd we get? You know what? There is a dumpster we have to dive occasionally. It's also known as the Sci-Fi section of the Netflix.
I got to take issue with you for a second here, Kevin.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Because you picked this movie.
Yes.
I had suggested John dies at the end, which I'm going to say his name wrong, but it's Don Coscarelli. Don Don Coscarelli, who wrote the Phantasm movies.
Yeah.
And he wrote this great movie called John Dies at the End. And we bailed on that one in favor of a lean hour and 26 minute.
I've been under immense pressure lately, people. We're lucky we're here podcasting.
We are.
Aren't we, George?
We are. Life is certainly happening.
It is majorly
In
happening.
a lot of different ways. So
I have a toothache.
So what would be nice is if in the middle of this life happening, you could once in a while take a break and enjoy a really, really good movie. That is not
The
really
case
what happened.
of this
'Cause,
movie known as
Well, what was it called again?
Embers. Sci-Fi. Or not.
So
We have to ask.
So Netflix would have us believe that we were watching a sci-fi
Which
movie.
is why, you know what? There's a dumpster. When you dive in dumpsters, sometimes you find a box full of donuts.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes you're eating a half cheeseburger, which was not in a box and maybe had contact with the slimy wall.
Right. We basically found a can of something without
Cat
a label.
food.
Could be dog food, could be peaches, but we're gonna crack it open and we're gonna down this thing before even looking at it. So which is what we did. We downed this thing without even looking at it.
I'd looked around. The internet's these
Not
days.
very hard.
Well, let's just say I had opened the dumpster.
I'll give it. It's an
I had
intriguing
stirred
concept.
around a little bit.
It's an intriguing concept.
Dumpster diving?
No. Embers. Should we?
Hold on. We should
go
need to
ahead.
go. We don't need to. This is going to be a 2-hour podcast tonight.
I was thinking
So guys,
maybe.
I hope
I
your
was thinking
commute
a
is-
lean hour and 26 minutes.
Hour and 26 minutes.
And then
That would be an homage.
Yeah. Well
To
then.
time spent. We'd probably get the time back.
Oh, and by the way, Jason Ritter, John Ritter's son, who was in Embers, he's showing up tonight because he really didn't have a whole lot to do.
Well, like relevant why?
He's in Embers.
Josh Ritter,
John, Jason
which is
Ritter.
Three's Company.
Yeah, his son. You didn't notice? You didn't think that
Come
guy
and
looked
knock on
familiar?
our door.
We'll be forgetting who you
We'll
are.
be forgetting you.
Where the kisses are. Who? Who's? What? Mr. Furley? Who are you? Where's my... Huh?
This dumpster, hold on.
Yes.
You can type things like the best sci-fi flicks on Netflix, okay? And they'll give you lists of 7 or 20. And there's some repeat offenders. Some have we seen. Advantageous pops up. Hard to be a God pops up.
Europa Report is always on there for some reason.
See, okay, and so here's where we get into what the fuck is happening.
Yeah.
And so what's happening is stuff that's freshly made, which ain't really getting anywhere else, is showing up on Netflix.
Exactly.
So I love that they win awards. Like, this movie won awards. Somewhere, some person was wowed by this.
The tagline I saw on the poster when I was searching for images was one of the best sci-fi experiences in the last 5 years. Now,
Who
I don't
is
know.
that person?
I don't know. I can't. What came out
You know,
in 5 years where this person was relegated to seeing only this movie.
I'm gonna. You know what that person's best sci-fi experience
I bet
was,
it was-
5 years prior?
You wrote for
No,
What?
no, a can opener that has a magnet on it
Yeah.
that spins the can and
Whoa.
opens. Perhaps cat food.
This is gonna change everything, people. There's no
I
getting
just
better
wish
than
someone would wipe it. Oh God.
There's no getting better than this, guys. Wait, what's that? Embers? Oh, okay.
Mm.
Now this is the best sci-fi experience. I think that was actually a review attributed to Jason Ritter,
Yeah.
or John Ritter's ghost.
Yeah.
Whatever the case may
He
be.
and Tarkovsky's ghost hanging out
They're hanging out, and speaking
in the bardo.
before we talk about Tarkovsky, though, we gotta talk a little bit about what this movie
Embers,
is about.
and which might make you quickly think that it's a horror movie. I don't know.
So, post-apocalyptic, correct? Like certainly dystopian future.
Yeah. A
Um,
neurological amnesia-causing disease which spreads rapidly and is seemingly airborne.
Yeah.
Has hit the planet.
Society is done, just done. But people are living in burnt out buildings, wandering seemingly aimlessly. The entire population victim to a disease, which seemingly renders you with some level of amnesia intermittently. Like, you can't really form new memories. You can only hang on to memories for a certain amount of time. If you see something and get distracted, your current memories will go away.
So you might run to get a drink of water, ditch your friend, and not remember how to get back to him.
Yeah. Or that they even exist.
Or you forget that
Yeah.
you. Well, that just reminded me. So there are. Something that didn't dawn on me in the movie when I watched it, but you would forget that you were married.
Right.
You'd forget you
Yeah.
had kids.
Like, I'm thinking it's a blank slate thing. Like, you go fully.
Well, so here's my problem, and this is where we begin, and I didn't even think of this. So how do you remember how to talk?
This is
How
the
do you remember how to
problem.
change your pants when you shit them?
This is the problem with any level of amnesia, because there's moments in this movie where you could see he doesn't really understand what a match is in one scene,
And he burns himself.
because
So-
he's like, so it's sort of like, okay, but how do you know what a kiss is? How do you know what a hair is? How
What
can
a
you
full
speak?
bladder is,
What a
man. It's
full
all about. It
bladder
would be
is. Why don't you
grosser.
just not? It would be so gross.
There is a novel that won a Pulitzer Prize
At a Pulitzer.
by Jose Saramago called Blindness. George, you probably know it as a movie.
Okay.
It was a book.
They
It's
do
a
that.
novel idea.
They do that, huh?
But it's wonderful. And it's horribly depraved because a blindness strikes the world. And some aren't afflicted, but they take advantage of people, and they are relegated to sanitariums, if you will, for those who can't see.
So it's not
And
everybody.
It's nasty and it's shitty, and
Yeah.
there's no punches pulled because you can't. How do you get even if your crew who decides we should be sanitary? How do you even do sanitary right if none of you can see?
Right. And I mean, you've got these people.
There are poorly executed rapes in that book, rather.
Oh.
Have you seen the movie?
No.
Yeah.
Because in this movie,
That's the blind raping the blind.
the blind raping the blind, poorly. I mean, obviously poorly.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to. Just brings
George?
so many not memories. No, that was the wrong. That was the wrong
Nonetheless,
word.
I'm
Anyway.
just saying that when you do this, there's a degree of thought you have to have.
you got
Poetic license says, you know what? Let's not make them. They can remember not to shit their pants. They can remember how to kiss, but they cannot remember where they live.
Yeah, and you gotta go after those rules with a certain you gotta nail it down, because if they're just simply not able to form new memories, that's a different thing. These people go to sleep and they seemingly wake up completely
Blank
slated and have to rediscover some level of who they are, only to have it all go away the next time they fall asleep. But not just when they go to sleep. Like we said, they forget the person that they're with the moment that they're distracted from that person. There's a scene where a man is walking with a boy. The boy lags behind a little bit and then catches up to the man, and the man thinks that he has met the boy all over again.
Mm-hmm.
And it really, it does beg the question. It reminds me of this movie, which was a comedy starring Dana Carvey, called Blank Slate, in which he has an accident and he cannot form new memories. And there's a scene where he consistently doesn't recognize the Mona Lisa. His artist neighbor is always painting murals of the Mona Lisa, and he's always asking, who is that? Yet he can drive a car, operate, work at his job and things like that. And as a kid, I'm watching this movie and I'm going, that's not right. You really missed something there. And that's a comedy, so forgivable. But they really screwed up the rules on this.
So
one.
how do you do this, and why do you do this? So, and here's what the critics picked up on. We follow 5 stories.
Clean slate. Sorry, Dana Carvey movie was clean slate. Just
Not Empty Ember?
not empty ember.
Empty Ember. There is a most likely husband and wife, because as you learn that the disease is coming across the earth, these people have the same wristband on. So before they forgot things, they obviously tagged themselves. They're wearing a similar bracelet. That just dawned on me. By the way.
Right. But wait, this has been a while, correct? It's been years.
So I think, they've been palling around. It's been 9 years since
9 years.
So you have that group.
Yes.
You have a 20-something kind of enraged freak. He tries to rape someone. He tries to fight someone. He breaks stuff. He is beaten. And maybe raped.
He's
It was
raped.
a little weird.
Yeah, it's a
and
rough
then
rape scene.
and that's another group. There is a man who had his wits together and left himself a lot of notes, and actually is a philosophy author. And he can't remember much, but remembered to leave himself notes. So
Yeah.
he doesn't know how to remember to start a fire, but can read how to start a fire each day.
Yeah, he's kind of set himself
And he's up in his cabin, and he's hooked up, and he's got a bunch of string and yarns, and he's smart about it.
He's got paths laid out, what to do. So he's sort of quick. He's a little quicker at rediscovering what he needs to do in order to live each day. There's a boy that's wandering through a couple different stories who doesn't speak, and probably because he is as old as this disease is. That was one thing that struck me, is that like the guy who is pure rage, this probably happened when he was like 9 years old.
Yeah.
And he just exists as like, this continually resetting
Let's not
child.
make this a better movie than it was.
But that in and of itself is kind of interesting.
No,
There's
and
a few things
And
that
so that the kid makes sounds because, as George is pointing out, talking wouldn't have happened.
Yeah. Should we
for
just
him.
point out right now that this movie was kind of a piece of shit? Like,
Well, it might sound better in the podcast, but it wasn't much predicting. I was waiting around for something better to happen, and it would be wrong to call this a meditation in the light of the much stronger, potent, truly meditative movies that we've talked even about on this podcast. And so that raging child runs into a white horse in an alley that makes him forget that he's trying to rape someone. And
Right.
of course I went Tarkovsky,
consistently the novelty that is this movie, which is that's really like the best thing I could think to describe it. The novelty that is this movie and the conceit behind it just starts to really wear. It's completely predictive. As the husband is running away from his wife to go get a drink of water, that he is at some point now going to forget her. That after having been beaten and raped, the kid who's all rage is about to kill himself, and you're like,
he's gonna forget that he wants to kill himself.
And there it is. It just really, really, there was not anything other than the premise.
And
really.
then the other group that we look at is a father and a daughter who is probably 20, and they had a bunker. Mm-hmm. And they live in an austere, modern place. It made me wonder, how did he build something so quick that he might be able to predict that this disease was going down? But because it's kind of like an art museum, and it has an auditorium in it, and it's a hell of a bunker.
Yeah, the goose is hanging high for them. They're living nice.
But she is bored as all hell. She's been in there since she was 9, right?
Yeah.
And she doesn't like it. There's some almost smart stuff. There's a computer personality that asks her a memory test each day with a couple of questions.
I actually really like that stuff. I liked that interaction between her and the computer, and how it kind of degraded. How it was, when we're introduced to it, it's routine. She's already great at it. She already knows the memory tests. And then as it goes on a little bit, she could care less about it.
Well, she wants to leave, so you see her interact with it one final time, and you watch her, knowing the answers, tell it the wrong answers. And it says, you need to go to a doctor, blah, blah, blah. You probably are at risk for the amnesia disease, or whatever terms it uses. And honestly, you could see she had already broken, and I knew she was going to do that.
Here's what I'm wondering. Who is writing that and thinking, wow, some people out there are really going to sympathize with this girl?
Well, people did. So
I
it
can't
doesn't matter.
I can't believe that.
So we talked about this. To have compassion for this is to say that, like, someone wrote this movie.
Yeah.
It got reviewed. It succeeded. They had a premiere. Like, in the mission statement, if you and I wrote this movie and the results were the same, we would feel good. And we can never take that from these people.
No,
really.
absolutely.
And
that's
listener,
not the intention. Especially,
we don't want to take movies you enjoy from you either.
That's well said. That's well said. That's true. And I want to say,
Even though we might say they suck.
yeah, I do want to say noble intention, because you can see the Tarkovsky homage, kind of. You can see what at least what they were you could see the shoulders of the people they were trying to sit on.
Well, because the
In
bleakness already. So it is
Yeah.
Stalker-esque.
Stalker-esque
It's
is
like The Zone.
probably the best compliment that I think
And
we're going to give this movie.
The white horse scene, there is some wonderful horse scenes in Andrei Rublev, which might not ever make it to this podcast because it's not sci-fi. It's sci-fi like Hard to Be a God is sci-fi. But wonderful, wonderful movie. It's just that sort of nature crashing into things.
So
starkly.
I want to step back and talk a little bit about like the experience that I had watching this movie.
Okay.
All right, because I think like you was kind of waiting for something to happen. In that waiting, I saw some things stand out that I thought were actually pretty good. I did like the interactions between the father and daughter initially. I thought that was going to be like the relationship that this movie was going to be, was going to hinge on.
Well, it should have. They were the only people who had memory.
The only people who had memory. They were only
And
three-dimensional characters in the movie. But
we'll get to the gift part.
Yeah, we'll get.
Because,
Yeah, I know, because there's a few things. I mean,
as a listener, as you know, we do write better movies most of the time.
Me and Kevin spoke on the phone a couple days ago, and I mentioned a scene in this movie in which the husband and wife are talking to each other. They are newly amnesiac again and trying to figure out what their place is. And she has a subtle little gesture where she brushes her hair behind her ear, and her husband goes, "I knew you were going to do that. I just knew. I knew." I liked that scene a lot. I thought that was clever. I thought it was a little thing I could pull out of this movie and go, that's cool. They're operating on the instinct that they know and love each other. And it begged for me, it begged the idea, hold on, it begged the idea of like,
Beg is
are
right.
we, yeah,
Please,
seriously.
please,
Please, see me. See me, George.
What did it beg, George?
Are we resetting these people to their base human nature? Like, is that what they are minus their memories? And if that's the case, then are we being presented with like a spectrum of human traits? We have the thinker, kind of. We have the deviant.
This is when I use the word archetypes.
This is when you
These
use
are
the word
archetypes.
archetypes. It's
We
written
have
down there.
We have we have the rager, who might be a picture of nurture.
Yeah.
Since you see him be abused and then abuse.
So I would almost say that in and of itself makes this film kind of worthwhile.
It is not clever, though. That it is not clever to have a disease that results in memory loss. I know what were they doing? Of course, perhaps something is peeking through.
Yeah.
How do I recognize that move? It was not believable in the context. I could experience the same thought. So perhaps they succeeded, but it took away from the movie as the world was being built. I was like, okay, maybe there are traces. Maybe things come through, but maybe there was one other reference to a trait that was remembered.
Well, they're in the church. They're in the church together in one scene. There's the dancing guy.
Oh, yes. That was about
during one scene, there's a little boy walking with a man who is killed later by the rager. And he finds sort of a makeshift stage and an umbrella and starts doing one of the worst.
Like, what trope is that? When was that ever right? That was right at some point. Like, why do I say like Marcel Marceau? Does that like, I'm dancing with an umbrella?
Dancing with an umbrella.
Yeah.
It was pretty bad and pretty out of
not
nowhere.
Tarkovsky-esque.
Not Tarkovsky-esque. No. But I found those things to be interesting, and I found them to be.
Why do you think that's clever?
Because it's
I think it's
a
an attempt.
chance.
Actually, I know why it's clever, but it's not.
It's a chance to do something a little bit more intellectual with a premise that could have been really freaking like not action movie, but more like quest movie. Like, this movie, I wrote, it's an experience. I had an experience watching it, and it wasn't because, like, the husband and wife are now
You
out
call Tarkovsky stuff.
to go.
When we get into this, the Tarkovskys are usually experiences for you.
That's a different type of experience.
Thank
Because
you.
I don't want you to come away, or any of the listeners come away with the idea that I would really ever watch this movie again. Whereas Stalker, I have watched since, and would gladly watch it again with somebody who hasn't seen it. Like, this was not a good movie, but
Yeah.
there were things in it that made me go, all right, I see what you're going for there, Claire, I think that's her name, the director. Claire,
Yeah.
or
Is that a hate crime? To call him out by the first
call
name?
him out by the first name?
Yeah.
Probably nowadays it is.
Where were we? French? Some of it was filmed in, like, there was parts of America that was filmed in. That was pretty sad. Like, worse than Detroit. And then they did go to Poland or something.
Yeah, it was. And, you know, there were a couple things that kind of threw me for a loop. They didn't do a good job of constructing the world. Like, there was nothing. Towards the end of the movie, I remember it's very lonely. This movie, like, it's a very, like, you're by yourself. You're walking around. Once in a while, you come across, like, a girl you might want to rape or something. That's pretty much it. Not me, you. Okay.
George.
Not me, you people. And don't jump on that one, Kevin. And,
Oh, I better not.
So
Because it's
so really,
have to consent.
at the end of the movie, you've got a scene where, like, there's, like, a gas station and there's, like, 15
they all
people,
somehow
like,
gathered because there's a
hanging out-
rainstorm.
hanging out, talking and stuff, like comparing notes on Amnesia or, like, whatever.
Yeah. Hey, do your pants smell? My pants smell. Oh, look at
I
them.
forgot.
She'll die of gangrene.
Oh, poor girl. Poor girl. And yeah, I mean, it wasn't great. I don't regret having seen it, I guess.
No.
You know.
It brought us here.
Right. Exactly. So,
Was
there was-
it horribly European or maybe even worse, a Canadian flick? I couldn't tell.
oh boy. You know, where do you think it was? I mean,
Well, we just went over it, but I don't know. Claire, I'm saying she's French-American.
I'm saying Claire has certainly got some French going on there.
Because of Claire de Lune.
Claire did.
You know I have a gift.
But seriously, hold on. Let me talk to you about the daughter.
But let's
Okay.
get, because we need to cover the daughter before
We're
we
gonna
get out
cover
of
the
here.
daughter before we pump out of here.
Pump out of here?
Pump out of here. Like, I don't know. I was thinking of gas, like pump on the gas or something. Pump out of here. It's not a. Anyway.
If you say thrust out of here, we
before
might
we-
actually have something sci-fi come in.
Before we
Because
thrust outta
thrusters
here.
are used, and why didn't someone show up in a spacesuit? That's
Oh,
all I was
God.
doing.
Half
Can
the
there
movie.
please be a spacesuit?
I was like,
need
I don't
something.
care. Let the Spanish dad put a spacesuit on and just walk out and have there be no
Yes.
context behind it
Well, 'cause
whatsoever.
there could have been context. So, talk about the daughter.
All right. So the daughter is she's living in Bunker City with her dad. It's just her and her dad. She's
Bunker
got
house.
Bunker House. But she's got a pretty clever AI system. Seemingly leads a normal life, except for the fact that she has absolutely nothing to do, no one to talk to. She's probably heard the same music a million times, looked at the same photos of her dead mom, all this stuff. She wants to leave. And this movie is written in a way in which her father doesn't necessarily seem unreasonable, but they clearly want us to side with the daughter and get behind her idea that, like, I am being held back here and there is a, you know, and my
I did
wife-
not side with the daughter.
No, fuck
it
no.
was
I
incredibly
didn't at all.
stupid.
It was incredibly stupid. At no point did her father just go, honey,
You cannot.
here's the deal.
Go.
Here's the deal. You're gonna die. Okay?
They were Spanish, so he's basically like, you should not do this. You will not remember me or anyone else.
Yeah. It's very vague about the whole thing. You know?
Yeah.
And
Well, because she knows about the disease.
I mean, he didn't really
The
hammer home the
epidemic.
seriously of it, and
Well, I believe she knows.
you believe she knows.
Like, there might have been like, you can't go, but at some
I'm
point,
left. I'm left with the idea that, like, that any goodwill that this movie has.
So she writes him a Dear Juan
Dear
letter.
Juan letter, nice.
You like that?
Good,
Yeah.
good.
And then walks out of the bunker.
Walks out of the bunker with a little backpack and a flashlight.
ready to go.
Ready to go.
Breathes in, takes it in, looks back. A breeze hits her, and you watch her face
You
change.
do. Yeah.
You watch a couple times previous to this, people have the last memory fade and the new kind of dumb look come over their face about the novel new place they've been.
Yeah.
So there's a cycle or a time
Yeah.
period. And she walks off
towards a
Yeah.
dying city, more than likely to be sexually assaulted. Hey,
You clean up your act over
all
there.
I'm saying,
huh?
yeah, you like that? I
Yeah.
dropped the R one there. But any goodwill that this movie had built up is gone in that instant in the sheer stupidity of this
And
decision.
that's why this movie is cheap. That's why this
got me,
movie
yeah.
tricks people. That's why when you say archetypal, you know you're in an exercise of art or something. This, and I mean bad art, because what do you just are you showing me some stuff?
No.
I mean, so what? This
Hey.
woman wants to be free in an epidemic. There is no real scale. There is a lack of proportion.
Complete
to
lack
what
of
is
proportion
really
to what
going
is
on.
really going
But
on here.
Someone
We are not
somewhere decided
presented.
that we should experience her going out and forgetting. And so I can kind of step into that. Perhaps the father. Because once again, in an archetypal way, at some point you must let go of the daughter. Not to lose your memory and be died and brutalized in the streets, but there is a smaller letting go that we might go through as humans. And it's cheap to put that in a quote-unquote sci-fi. If you ask me, if you have a disease like this and people are walking around in a really brutal landscape, you are 27 steps away from 28 days later.
That's fantastic.
I
I want to see that in quotes on this poster.
which poster?
On the poster.
You making
for
a
Embers.
poster?
No. The
But
poster
so,
for
but
Embers.
is it horror? I mean, why is this sci-fi? Why is this sci-fi? The most sci-fi element, people, if you look on Netflix, you will see the father and the daughter in profile at a table, and there is the coolest looking lamp. And I think that made me think that there was going to be more sci-fi in this movie. Yeah. Honest to God.
Yeah.
So the father could have put on a spacesuit and said, "You can go out there and lose your memory.
That's exactly
I'm going to
what I
tie a
was thinking.
string to you.
That's exactly what I was
You
thinking.
lose your memory. I'll bring you back in. I'll remind you every day, but I'll let you go out."
Right. I was thinking father
And then-
could come out right now. She's at the border. She's not exposed yet. Father could come out in a fucking spacesuit. We'd have our sci-fi element. My inner want, my childish want for a spacesuit in this movie for something. Give me something here, Claire. He comes out and goes, "Honey, come back here. You can go venture off, but come back every day. Here you go. Here's a little cord." I was waiting for some breakthrough between their relationship. I was waiting big time for some breakthrough with the philosopher. I thought that was going to go more than it was.
He taught a kid to ride a bike.
Yeah.
And then, did the kid wander off too?
He wandered. That was before. He wanders off and then he retraces his steps, which I think was their way of saying they might be okay. He can figure out how to get back.
Part of me thought that the girl would go outside and the disease had passed, and maybe she'd be one with memory walking around.
And then she'd remember every time.
She just. What do you mean she remembered?
Every time that she was sexually assaulted.
God.
At least the one. If you get a disease, you just forget it. Like what happened to the Rager.
Yeah.
You know, he just started having fun throwing bottles at the. It helped that he was probably one of like the least appealing actors like I've seen in a while. There was just like nothing to the guy, you know, like there was nothing. I was hoping there'd be some way to endear it, because that was just fell flat. The whole like him getting beat up and then raped and then forgetting. They were trying to get us to
And so were those? How did those? What was that gang of guys running around like remembering to rape people?
And not only that,
how do you remember to rape someone?
was
And go like,
was Jason Ritter in that gang?
I don't think so.
I think they showed his face really quickly.
So there's 8 people living in this city, 9 with the girl walking
that's
in there.
it. And then they, well, apparently, according to the ending, it's really easy to lose somebody.
Hey, you waiting for a bus? I don't know. Hey. Well, so cheap again is that
terrible.
the husband and wife forget one another. She steps on a nail as they are blissfully, idiotically pacing through a really dangerous ruins.
Yeah, they're playing in
Hey,
the.
it's fun. They've already had sex and forgotten they're going to re-sex. Consensual. And
For a change.
for a change.
Um,
It's rough around here.
It's really rough in this city.
Yeah,
How do
rough.
you remember that sex is a thing? Like, how do you remember that?
So cheap again. So of course, are we at our base nature?
Yeah, all right. Oh,
Thank
was
you.
Was that an impression of me there, Kevin?
Oh, because what are
When
you
just went,
remembering?
"Are we in our base nature?" I had forgotten.
Oh, but did you forget you were trying to beg a clever piece out of this movie? Was it clever? No,
I told you all that was wiped
we were
away.
deeply
All
exploring.
that was wiped away
archetypes.
by a gal with the upside down light bulb walking outside.
That was a pretty sci-fi flashlight.
Very sci-fi flashlight. So this movie ends. There's a little rainstorm, and
I thought it was a bus depot. It was a gas station.
I think it's a gas
was
station.
something.
You know,
And Ding Dong.
Ding Dong and
Ding-a-let.
Ding Dong and Ding-a-let, who had been separated. So yeah, she steps
For
on
3 hours.
For 3 hours. She steps on a nail. No, more time than that, because he had the time to join a gang
And
rape somebody.
all right, 11 hours.
So like 11 hours a day, a solid day, goes
I don't
by.
like that gang. Who are these guys?
Who's
Oh, whoa!
Hey,
He's
you guys-
next. Wait, I'm in the gang. Oh, what? Ah!
You guys like raping men? Yes, me too. Just
What did
met
I?
you.
What? Hold on. What?
How do you know? Wait, what'd you say?
Do I? I don't. I remember how to
I
kiss.
don't remember.
Hey, I remember how to kiss.
Remember how to kiss. All right, you remember how to do anything else?
That won't be necessary.
So they get separated a day before. He runs off to grab a bottle of water. While he's running to grab a bottle of water, completely forgets who she is. Looks down at the water and is like, "Oh, I guess I must have been thirsty." Takes a sip of the water, and then both their memories of each other are gone. They meet again at the end of the movie, and they say,
She goes.
"You got the same bracelet."
And what's his response? She says, "Hey, we
Nothing.
have the same." He just looks at her and smiles.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, we do. The things I've seen.
Uh,
These are my friends.
mhm. These are my bros.
These are my bros.
This guy, we're gonna forget he's
We're
our
gonna
friend and
forget
rape
that
him
he's our
tonight.
friend. We just
It all
gotta-
comes around. Sometimes you're raping. Sometimes you're getting
Sometimes you
raped.
get raped.
It's
We
a
just
gift
gotta-
of the disease.
You just gotta wait for him to get around the corner so we forget who he is.
Boom!
Go ahead, Pete. Go over there. Go ahead. Now there's something over there for you.
So when she punctures her foot on a nail,
Mm-hmm.
he like freaks out, like idiotically. Like he acted more idiotic than I thought they would. They're pretty rational, but they're a little stupid and right. And
Yeah.
he runs off like, gotta get water.
Yeah.
I gotta get water. And like I would have thought that the memory would have been like, we should stick together. She thinks they should stick together.
She thinks
and
they
he
should,
goes,
yeah.
no, I'm cool, but I thought at that point, like she remembered, I would have thought he would remember to stick together. And why did he act like such an idiot?
At that point, also, well, I was also impressed that like he could run like a couple hundred yards and find a place in post-apocalyptic
That
city
had
that
water!
had bottled water, just hanging out there. You know, like.
I remember just the place.
Wait a minute. Where are we? Is this 14th Street?
Yeah.
Okay, there
Near the
used to
bus
be a little
depot,
Indian
the rape
place
hole.
over there. That's where they keep all the white horses. So it's funny that you might run into one. What are we? Why?
What happened?
What would make this movie whole? What would it take? You know? Is it as simple as the father coming out to join the daughter?
Why
and
is it
getting...
sci-fi? Is it because alternate reality and we have a pandemic like that makes it sci-fi?
We got a pandemic. That doesn't make it sci-fi to me. Again, we like to hinge on like this question doesn't really matter except when it glaringly does. When like I'm being told that this is science fiction,
So-
when I'm sorry, it's not, man. Like there's no even classic elements of science fiction, let alone like you've got a disease that wipes out people's memory. It's kind of horror, but not really. 27 steps behind 28 days later.
Yeah.
It's great. No, it's not sci-fi. It's just a
But
thing.
so stuff gets thrown into the dumpster we dive.
Yeah.
Known as the Netflix sci-fi and fantasy section. So, I mean, there's some crapola in there. You ever got like 30 pages in on the Amazon Prime sci-fi thing
man,
where you're
when you
like,
start
wow,
seeing-
there's another homemade alien video?
Yeah.
Whoa, that's a guy in a mask.
You start seeing things that were shot on someone's iPhone, basically,
That's
and
right,
uploaded
right?
to Amazon.
Yeah.
You know, and are still like $12 sometimes. But if you go like on Amazon Prime and just keep on surfing, you'll know it when you find the ones that don't have posters anymore. They have just like the Amazon placard and a title or something.
Yeah.
That's a good time.
That's
man.
hardcore, folks. That's how you know we're digging for content.
Why Embers? Why is that the title of this movie? Because it's like little pieces of memory, like little lights.
Well,
Like
the
the
embers
embers of a
are
fire.
usually dying, so I
Uh-huh.
think it's dying memories. But
Oh,
memories
that's-
have died.
That's so shitty.
It's.
That's just
I feel like a hipster made this movie. Probably not.
I feel like I know people enjoyed this movie. We had people on our Instagram feed say, "Oh, I like that one." When I put the announcement, in
We
the
love
time.
that too, guys. Keep following BDD Sci-Fi.
Please.
Email us at bddsci-fi@gmail.com.
And you know what? If you did sympathize with the daughter, let us know. Like I want that. I would like to hear that point of view. I'd like to hear that perspective of the person who was kind of like rooting for her to get out in that crazy rapey
all
world.
want her to get
you
out.
know?
That's why it was cheap. Of course you'd want to get out. We get it. You're a kid. You've been locked up. Bad shit has happened.
You know, but here's the thing.
That's
I wanted
bullshit.
her dad to go, all right, listen here, Miranda, or whatever the hell her name was. You're 18 years old. Sit down. Shut the hell up. I'm saving your life. You know, like that's the want that counteracts the stupidity of the entire conceit.
But so there's
Like,
one.
you know,
So
it's-
maybe he just thinks it's all futile in the end. Why not?
maybe why not?
I mean, because
Yeah.
he is a.
He
artist and a
was
poet,
resigned
and
though. He was like, if you go, you know, just so you know, take this sci-fi backpack. It's got like 2 days worth of water and food in it. After that, Godspeed, honey.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Or whatever you remember to rely on.
sure, because you probably won't remember to how to eat and how to drink water. Like, what is this stuff?
They're all eating canned goods. Well, so yeah, why would you? Why would
They
you
were
eat?
they were marveling at the idea of that peaches were sweet in the beginning of the movie. They open up a can of peaches and they're like, "Oh, they're sweet."
What is this? It's
Yeah,
sweet.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
You know what's not sweet?
what?
Cat food.
Have you had
From a
cat food?
dumpster. No.
Some of it's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. I lived rough for a little while.
Did you?
Sure.
Yeah.
I had to share a room with my brother.
Yeah.
Pretty rough, man.
In
He
a
was always
bunker?
bigger than me, and he made me eat cat food.
But he let you go, didn't he?
He let me go
He
though,
let you go.
because
Look
he
at you
understood.
now.
He understood. He understood that I was
Even-
just trying to find myself out in this crazy, crazy, rapey world. You know?
Los Angeles?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's what I'm doing here, and I've been reading
You've been reading.
a little bit.
Yeah.
Not. I don't. I've been reading the Necronomicon.
I remember, which
Yeah.
is, of all the things that we could have read together.
I almost feel like
and
I-
you're like,
I should
hey, I've
say-
been reading the Necronomicon.
I almost feel like I
which
should
is
say
a
I'm
hoax.
sorry, because it's like it's just not. It's dense and great, but you're reading dense and great sci-fi, and this is really not sci-fi. Like H.P. Lovecraft is pretty traditionally horror. Like you
But the
could.
Necronomicon is not H.P. Lovecraft. It is some dude in the 70s writing the Necronomicon. Are you reading the Necronomicon or are you reading stories?
I'm reading stories. I'm reading.
You're reading H.P. Lovecraft
Yeah,
stories.
yeah.
So that's not the Necronomicon. The Necronomicon is
okay.
the
No,
book.
no.
Someone
No.
wrote the book,
Wow.
Necronomicon.
No, I'm not reading.
What are
like
you reading
the-
by H.P. Lovecraft?
I'm reading Necronomicon, which is a collection of H.P. Lovecraft stories.
Get out of here. Okay, yes.
So
Thank you.
like Herbert West, Reanimator, like.
When you tell an H.P. Lovecraft fan,
Uh-huh.
obviously there's a collection called Necronomicon,
Yeah.
but there's a book called Necronomicon, and someone wrote the book that the Mad Arab
Yeah.
wrote, and you can buy it, and it's got like
That is not
spells
what I'm
in it
reading,
and stuff.
though.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, that's kind of immensely
Why the
boring.
fuck would I read that?
Now
I'm
you
sorry.
know what
I'm sorry. I did not. I didn't know.
maybe you like geek
I
out or
didn't know
something
that.
like.
No, I mean, what's
Because
funny
you were
is
like,
that,
dude, I've been reading Bradbury, and then I read the Necronomicon. I'm like, you read the fucking
Okay,
Necronomicon?
but that collection of short stories
called
is called
Necronomicon.
Necronomicon. All right, so
Which is
by
the
adding
book that
then you're talking about the. So somebody wrote the book from the H.P. Lovecraft universe.
Yes. So you can buy that.
Oh, see, that does sound cool.
Well, there's maybe the lead singer of the Blue Oyster Cult wrote it. There's like some rumors about who wrote the Necronomicon. It's like a Bantam paperback.
People don't know who wrote it.
It's written because it's
It's
penned
written by
under
the fictional
Mad
the
Arab
Mad Arab guy
Al-Azraq,
from yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, the Lovecraft debate. I mean, I don't. It's not.
It
for
doesn't.
now.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't tremendously matter. But
But that's
But
cool that
digging
you're
it.
reading that because those are immensely dense and all that stuff, and you could have told me, and then we could have actually talked about them. So are you
I'm
still reading
assuming,
that?
Yeah, I am. I'm assuming
Okay.
they're already.
Have
under
you
your
read At
belt.
the Mountains of Madness yet?
I haven't. No.
Because there's a point in the 1800s when maybe taking a boat and some gear to survive in the Antarctic could be science fiction
True.
based on the fact that that's kind of the edge of technology,
Yeah.
right? That's
Oh, well,
beautiful stuff. And then but anyways, but P.S. Those are starfaring creatures.
Yes.
You might be
No.
like celestials to speak comic language to you.
That's good.
You know, I mean, it's all pretty basically there, and then that pantheon of those creatures pervades into areas that are horrific. So if you isolate one of them in one area, like a house that they are inhabiting, that someone's tapped into, then it seems very horror, but they've always come from beyond time.
That's a good point. That's a good point. So even though you would hinge like, because I mean obviously when I think of like reanimating the dead, I think of Frankenstein, which is classically horror.
Reanimator is kind of an oddball in those stories.
It's my favorite part of it so far. I just love the detail and I love his use of language. Like it's just so like overly descriptive.
Yeah, eldritch, great word.
What does that mean?
I don't know. It means icky and bad and evil.
Ah.
The eldritch horror.
Oh, the Eldritch Horror. Yeah.
But it's a adjective. I've been reading a lot too. I got through. Where was I? I left off. I was reading Galactic North, which is a set of stories based in the Revelation space realm by Alistair Reynolds. Those were great. They went beyond and prior to the stories, the 3 novels I'd read, and then I went to a standalone called Pushing Ice, which was amazing, and now I'm in a standalone by him called Century Rain, which is amazing.
Pushing Ice. So is this a comet thing? Like
Comet. So Larry Niven-esque.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna.
There's a belt, you know, and we
put the
send
asteroid belt
ice
and-
back to an Earth, and you mine it and take giant chunks, kind of frame it with a little bit of metal, and then send it on its bearing to go back into our atmosphere or be harvested pre-atmosphere, whatever.
We need a little of that stuff, man. It's been 105 degrees the last couple days here in LA.
Yeah.
Yeah. Makes me wonder when maybe some sort of disease is just gonna run rampant.
Why?
A couple things I want to forget.
God. Like this toothache?
God bless you, for
George,
coming
do
out
you
with it.
know at what time I made my dentist's appointment tomorrow?
Crickets. And I don't know what time.
230.
Oh God.
Really? Really?
Jennifer
You
Fang
could not have.
is still out there.
Was that?
She's still
That's
out.
why she egged your house?
Yeah.
It was that whole riff?
It was
we
that
did?
whole thing, the 230 thing, man. Her and Patrick Rothfuss have been fucking this thing up.
Who's still in rehab.
Still in rehab,
Clearly.
poor guy. I heard he's dead.
You're supposed to get out of rehab.
Ernest Klein, man. Did you
Clean.
see?
What is it? What is it?
Did you see the
Clean,
trailer?
Clean. What is it? Trust Dagon, clean house, and write more books.
And
Is
write
that
more books, yeah.
is that what?
That's her whole
That's
deal.
what their deal is. Yeah.
Did you see the trailer for Ready Player One?
No, but I know that it exists.
Holy shit!
Is it going to be good?
I don't know. It
Listener,
looked
we owe you this
cool,
one. For the
man.
hardcore, there's some of you out there. Listener zero.
They laid it on the
is-
line. Like it starts with him putting on the visor. All of a sudden, boom, you're in a land where
Avatar?
Iron Giant.
Avatar?
He's driving in the Back to the Future car. The Akira motorcycle is rolling up. Freddy Krueger comes jumping out. Like it's basically like they're just gonna license everything, throw it
Stranger
on
Things.
screen.
So it's the Wreck-It Ralph of sci-fi movies.
Totally. That's fantastic. That's exactly what it is. It's just like, right. There you go. Put that in quotes on a poster right below. This is the best sci-fi movie I've seen in 5 years.
Why will it be good?
What were we talking about?
I don't know. Man.
Should we go rape somebody?
George, we've been
Can't
walking the edge all night.
I can't live
and
in
then
this
you are.
lie anymore.
Let's just say you're bluntly penetrating any veil of decorum that we might have. You're spitting water out,
I just
man.
spit seltzer out. I'm gonna go.
George?
I gotta.
You're gonna go
I'm gonna go.
take a shower.
I'm gonna take a shower.
Yeah, maybe try and forget this
Maybe
episode.
try and forget this whole thing happened.
Yeah, George, if you walk out of this room, you'll never remember that we recorded this.
Well, that's not true because we'll have the recording.
Well, we'll also know we both drew Sharpie Hitler mustaches on our face tonight. And so we'll know if we bump into each other that clearly we meant to... Hey, you get the same Hitler mustache.
Hitler mustache as me.
Who's Hitler? I don't know. He was a fucking total dick when he drank tequila, though, man.
All right, good night.
Good night, nurse.